So let's start with Nikhil. You're a very busy person, right?
Yeah.
You travel,
I've
you...
become busy since 2019. Very,
Right,
very busy.
right. You travel. I know you maintain a very regular fitness routine as well.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the role of food and nutrition in allowing you to do what you do with your life?
Hi, guys. You know what? Food is, it's a journey for me. It's been a journey for me. For a long time, I didn't know what aggravated me, my mood. Um, for a while, I didn't know what suits my gut. And then finally, I met, and I've been meeting a lot of people, trying different things, manipulating my gut system. And then finally, I met someone incredible who put me on a particular diet where the things I couldn't eat, I tried that, the things I couldn't eat. And I'll tell you, within 2.5 months, my entire world changed. But I keep doing this. Every 3 years, I keep reinventing and changing because the body keeps changing as well. And that's primarily as you keep getting older, your system starts to find new ways to becoming a new person. Um, and so my Ayurvedic doctor has really transformed my life. I can do almost everything, barring the things that I subconsciously didn't know that they were not working for me. But yes, when I travel, I carry everything that I can for at least the first 2 days. And post that, then I have to depend on wherever I'm going and make my food selection. I'm not the best guy to be traveling with, to be honest with you. It's one of those guys when you're sitting on a table and everyone else is ordering Rogan Josh and all kinds of things, and I'm stuck with just my kulti dal and brown rice and no broccoli, no capsicum, no red bell pepper, and the rest of it. Yeah, but it's tough. It's tough. But the results are incredible.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we can all relate, right? Especially to the fact that you're used to eating in a certain way, and then you find that your body changes, the environment changes, circumstances change, and you need to basically pivot at those points in time. Yeah, so it's not always easy, but it's about being in tune. And so coming to you, Vesna, I know that you've dealt with adversity in your life. Um, I know that food and fitness has played a huge role in overcoming that adversity. So can you tell us a little bit more about your particular journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. Uh, when I was an athlete, I was on a quite high level, so I was a national level basketball player. And I never questioned food. I never questioned my weight. Food was there as nourishment and provided me with energy. So that weight gain, loss, and everything were never part of my journey. However, after I got injured and after two botched up surgeries, when I wasn't able to recover, that is when I discovered emotional eating. Because I was frustrated, I was angry, I was literally eating my emotions and frustration away, to the point that I gained around 30 kilos at that point of time. And that was the journey, how to find the balance, because still I was playing, and this is what happens with a lot of my clients. Still you're having a certain level of activities and you're not injured and everything is fine and the life is fine, things are okay, but then something happens of significance. It can be stress, it can be injury, it can be illness, it can be somebody near you, and then all of a sudden, everything collapses. And we have in our subconsciousness that food is something pleasurable. Food is how we express love. Food is how we give love, at least in my tradition, and I know Indian tradition is very similar. And that is when we want to feel secure and reassured, we keep reaching for the food. So it was a journey to first on the physical part to recover my body, but then also to reestablish a different relationship with the food, where it's not there, it is there to provide me with nutrients, to sustain me, but it's not there to replace the emotions. So that is where that holistic path to wellness, in my case, took root. So now I do not give 80% of the time. I'm very regimented eater and a very simple eater, and that suits my palate, it suits my body. And then 20% of time can literally be anything, and I don't question it. If my body wants ice cream, I give my body ice cream. But if my body wants 5 ice creams, then we need to make, because then the question is, am I trying to substitute this for something? And if it's just a natural craving, then it's fine, because body will burn it off. So it went a little bit backwards, my journey to find that balance.
But it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Again, coming back to being in tune with your body,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
How about you, Shreya? What do you consider to be essential in terms of nutrition for maintaining your healthy appearance and your beauty?
I think I'd like to start with the word balance because I'm a big time foodie. I love food. I think, like you rightly said, that in our culture it's also associated with love. And so I do love food. However, you cannot go bonkers over food, which I used to also, in my early and late teenage years. But eventually, as I grew up, I understood my relationship with my body and, how our body also reacts to different types of food that we consume. So obviously, nutrition is extremely important. You cannot go overboard with absolutely anything because it shows, your body will always communicate with you in terms of either it can be an acne breakout or, you put up weight or you don't feel energetic. So there's always a giveaway that the body, indicates with that you need to be in balance. And as long as you're in balance, I feel anything is just fine. I don't go too extreme with anything.
Yeah. All right. And so in your journey as model, pageant, what have you come across as being some misconceptions in terms of nutrition in the industry that you've sort of been in?
Well, I believe, again, like I spoke, people do believe, and there are many people that I personally know who also follow this way of going very extreme with their dietary choices, whether it's nutrition or not. For instance, earlier there was this misconception where people feared calories a lot. But the truth is that, as long as you are in balance, everything is just going to be fine. There are people who just go with very extreme diets and, constantly hold themselves back towards, say, maybe ghee or oil, things which are very natural and our body definitely needs. So I constantly, when somebody asks me about my opinions about diets, I always tell them, just listen to your body, eat clean, don't go overboard with anything, and you will be sorted. As long as you're also compensating in terms of fitness routines or, moving around, taking care of your mental wellness, physical wellness, everything is okay. And yeah, that's the misconception I believe is still prevailing in probably a small proportion of people. But yeah, apart from that, it probably is controlling the amount of calories. I know few people, actresses and models, who really like go overboard with stopping themselves from eating and, could be, I don't know, for the lack of a better word, starving themselves. But that's something I find extremely shocking because why would you do that? We've come to this beautiful journey on earth to actually have this human experience, and food is such a big part of it.
You know what? There's a big misconception when it comes to fashion, and of course we're a part of the same industry. I don't know how many people would imagine if models eat or not. This is a very common thing, right? So if I ask people here, do you think models eat? Yeah. So you heard a no, right? But they eat, and they eat really well. The amount, I mean, in my past 25 odd years, I've always seen models eating well and working out. a lot. We've got someone like Lakshmi Rana, who's almost my age now, and she's still on the ramp. And she looks incredible. She's got two girls. Her body is insane. I've always seen her eat. Every time we've been on trips for shows, that girl can eat. All of us.
I think that this is the reason for her longevity in the industry. This is because that starts showing that taking care of yourself and your body and food and nutrients and exercising, that starts showing later on.
Their passion towards food is the same as their passion towards working out and exercising.
And it balances each other
It's
out.
insane. I
Yeah.
mean, if somebody needs to learn how to eat food, it's got to be from our industry,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with you. Again, as a nutritionist, I used to think about food until I realized the power of exercising and how you can get away with a whole lot more, right? Yeah. So, but that then means that there's a misconception out there because people don't really follow this type of advice, right? So, in your particular field, Vesna, how do you deal with these kind of misconceptions with your clients?
Well, we are living in a highly visual world, and being a physiotherapist working in the fitness field, usually people come to me who already have some issues, whether it's a back or a cervical issues or a problem which is preventing, or they keep on getting re-injured in the gym. And they're not acute physiotherapy cases. So that is usually which is like 80% of people, everybody has something going on in the body. And I had the cases of people coming to me without being able to walk, to sit down in such acute pain and say, yeah, that is bothering me, but I really want to lose here and I want to lose there and I want to, and I said, pause. And fashion is highly visual medium. So what we see and then we reflect upon our lives usually gives us these ideas how people reach that. And the easiest way would be stop eating, load on unhealthy things, reach for pills, and that is why the industry has such a bad name, and that is not necessarily the truth. That there is a lot of exercise, lots of discipline, lots of regimented eating, lots of, again, being in tune with the body, and yet there are cases who are doing other, but those cases are outside every industry. I mean, the fitness industry is having a very bad reputation of that everybody is doing steroids and everybody is injecting themselves with stuff and everybody is trying, but that's not necessarily the truth. Yes, of course, there are people who do it, but that is what gives the whole industry a very, very bad name. Or the other misconception is when somebody sees me and say, oh, it's easy for you to talk about building body and being in shape. You must be always look that way. That is usually that I think that is in common also in oh, it's okay for her, she's so tall and lanky, she must be born that way. And nobody thinks about the effort that actually goes into it to maintain, to get there and maintain it there.
I also feel that food has got a lot to do with self-acceptance. There are, especially again in the fashion or the entertainment business, the ones who are eating well, they're also accepting who they are deeply. And it's a spiritual journey for them too. As opposed to just following a diet and making sure that they look good and they feel good. A lot of the food has got to do with your spirituality and your awareness. And therefore, it transcends into not just the way you look, but the kind of person you are. And I've seen a massive transformation, at least in my case. My gut has been able to create my mind, my thought, my collections, my fierce decision making, which I had lost in the middle. And something called the creative block. This is very common in our, in all creators. I realized this used to happen because my gut was not healthy. And I was not feeding my soul, just my body. And I think since I reversed and pivoted, my my entire life has changed. In fact, my personal life has changed, my physical life has changed, my emotional life has changed. I'm able to do things now emotionally that I don't carry the burden that I've been carrying for years because my gut's clean.
I love that spiritual eating. I love it.
Yeah, and gut eating, which is a big word these days, right? Um, what about you, Shreya? Do you have you ever looked at it from that perspective? Do you consider, the root of what drives health issues or even beauty in terms of gut health, or is it not something that is being looked at actively in your environment?
I think times are changing though. Like, for instance, people's perspective about nutrition and nourishment has changed massively, I think, over the last 4 5 years as well, which is how long I have also been observing. And, uh, and people are much more aware. Like, for instance, there was this whole trend on social media and on Instagram where people were only talking about, how their gut health has actually impacted their lives in insane ways. And then there was this trend about starting the day with a spoon of ghee or like coconut oil that I also personally follow. And I think that has also done wonders for me. And I was like maybe realizing it on my own, but now that you've said that, I think I'm going to pay much more attention to my gut health.
So, bringing it to social media and the power of social media and the fact that all of you have substantial following, and so do a lot of other celebrities, who perhaps have the power to change public opinion, public awareness. Is there scope of people like you to contribute to that, and what would that look like? Anyone?
Our lives are always being magnified through what we do. And I always believe that whatever change you want to make, you start from home. My children, my son and my daughter, they are 17. They're going to be 17 in a couple of months. And their gut health, they already know a lot about their gut health. But what I am sort of helping them to understand better is that if their gut health is good, the ripple of happiness will transcend across the entire planet. For example, if his gut health is good and he's gone to school, there will be a certain amount of energy he'll emanate, and that will transform into other friends of his who will want to follow. See, this is that age where everyone's going to follow one another. Imagine if 10 kids have good gut health, that transcends into the other 100 kids, and therefore another 100 kids. By the time 3 months are over, you would have transformed 100,000 children. Therefore, when brands come up with, all kinds of foods which are preservative based and they're quick, in 5 minutes you get it, that's seriously dangerous for, I think, the entire planet. And when we talk about sustainability, we need to discuss food sustainability too. Because this fast food is going to affect the world. I mean, I never could imagine that we'd be called, if you're booking a restaurant or ordering some food, the first thing they ask you is, you have any allergies? What is the concept of that? Why would you have allergies? I mean, are you unhealthy?
There is a short answer and a long answer to that.
I think we'll do short answers today.
No, but the fact of the matter is that our environment is much more polluted to what it used to be. That's on one side. Plus, our internal environment is much more polluted than it used to be, which means that we are overloaded with the stimuli, with the things, with access, and do not spend enough time grounding and recognizing. So we kind of started losing a touch a bit. But to bring back to the role of the social media is, it's very interesting. While it's amazing to have the access to things, we are also very gullible, that we believe anything that is presented to us. And while we might be told and we know consciously that no celebrities ever look this way, and that is a Photoshop, or it comes after a long working out sessions, or it comes after a preparation period to be ready for the shoot, we kind of ignore that, put it aside, and just obsess and compare that image against us, unedited, with the light and everything in between. On the other side, this body positivity movement, which is such a novelty thing, which I'm all for, it's also in a way promoting unhealthy lifestyles. So body positivity should be taken also with a pinch of salt. Everything should be taken with a pinch of salt. You should be happy and satisfied with
Pink
the
salt.
way your body...
Pink salt.
Yes, pink of salt, Himalayan.
A pinch of pink salt, yes.
Pinch of salt. And yes, you should be satisfied within your body because you never know who might be going through what. However, if there is a scope for healthier life, that absolutely should be promoted. So I'm finding this kind of dance and finding balance in the social media very, very interesting, almost like a global social experiment, which is really affecting the young generation.
Yeah, which is exactly why I was wondering if there's a way that, celebrities, people with big followings can actually kind of start having these conversations, right? Yeah, I know it's maybe not a way to grow your media following, but it definitely can be helpful, I suppose. I guess, Nikhil, what you were saying is that one-on-one, the ripple effect is way more powerful. Yeah.
People have short-term memories. They'll forget. For example, I used to have a lot of sugar. And I went on Instagram once and I heard someone say that try this 7-day thing, don't have sugar for 7 days and see what happens. Okay, I did it for 7 days, but I turned into a monster. I didn't know I'd turn into a monster because mentally I started going crazy. And when you deplete your body of something that you're used to, just in 7 days out of the blue, the body's going to turn you, your mind goes crazy. Then I found the process to heal myself again. And then now sugar is a part of my life, but it's in different forms. And substitution is so important for your mental health and not depletion. So I'm learning. We're all learning, isn't it? Like, we were not born in technology. We've been introduced to it at the middle of our life. So the scary part is that if, as parents and as colleagues and as professionals, if you're not careful about what we do and how we do it, the chances are that we're going to affect the world adversely, and it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It really doesn't.
Yeah, no, you're right. That makes a lot of sense. So talking about sugar and talking about indulgences, do any of you have secret guilty pleasures, and how do you navigate those? What about you, Shreya?
I definitely do. I have many. But, like how we were talking about it earlier, it is, I always make it a point if I go overboard with something. I am obsessed with making sure that I work out 10 times more to firstly compensate whatever I ate. But again, I try to control sugar and I don't eat processed foods or things that have been preserved and, are served after that. That's one thing for sure. And in terms of sugar, I also try to take sugar in more natural ways as much as possible. But sometimes I do treat myself, which I also feel is fine because I definitely become a monster if I deplete myself, say 3 days. 3 is my maximum. But I always compensate then, in terms of fitness, or I do some other form of physical workout. That also makes me feel lighter mentally. It's a very heavy burden off my chest that maybe I had a small piece of, say, something, but then I worked out 2 hours. So it
Yeah, you're right. I guess it's all about balance.
She sounds like she's my age.
I have no balance that way.
Sounds.
I have no balance because I'm not a small eater. Either I'm going to eat it or I'm not going to touch it. So, and knowing that about myself, I'm okay with it. It's about knowing yourself to the core to know what works for you. I'm not big on chocolates, but I like ice cream, for instance. So if you tell me to have a 1 spoon of ice cream, don't give it to me. Like, don't embarrass yourself, don't embarrass me. Either give me a proper portion or I'm not touching it. So I kind of then, and I'm fine with that because again, I know the benefits of not doing it. But at the same time, if I really want to do something, I just do it and say it's okay. It's gonna balance itself out because 80% of the time, I'm a very clean, regimented eater. 20% can be anything, and there is a scope for anything. Body is meant for anything.
I think all of us here are on the same page when it comes to balance. But, and again, as you alluded to, Nikhil, there are a lot of people that before they are able to get to a state of balance, need to go through a period of healing. And that healing does require an intervention, and it may require an intervention that's a little bit more extreme, right? Where you do completely cut out certain foods, right? You can relate to that?
Yeah, I totally relate to it. In fact, one of the things, and Chef Gill said it beautifully that you should know your regional food before you go out to become a chef internationally. I've when it comes to desserts, I've always had ghar ka meetha khana. Like the dessert is always made at home. To understand the balance of sugar, because you can control it as opposed to buying it from outside. But spiritually, I think again, food has got a lot to do with what stage of life you are in your life, and what's your mental situation. I do blood reports once or twice a year now to just ensure that I'm on the right path, because sometimes you're being very careful, but your blood reports are not signing off correctly. And I think that, and I've started doing that with, I might sound like a crazy father, but I started doing that with my kids too, just to ensure that if they play a lot of sport, just to ensure that they're playing at the highest level. And just before they play a tournament, we have discussions mentally, how are they visualizing the sport today? Once the gut health is good, they're able to win and perform better, which affects them positively for the next 6 months. So we're being a little bit more conscious, and that comes out when you keep pushing your limits to see how far you've gone.
Yeah, it's a concept called biohacking, right? Where you just sort of use some data to track and to see what you need to work on over and above the basic foundation.
Sorry, I'll cut you in. When you talk about biohacking, I was everyone knows Hardik Pandya. He's a huge cricketer, been the Indian cricket captain. I spent 3 days with him. This was in Udaipur. I'd gone for his wedding, and we spent 3 beautiful days together. His gut health was so incredible that even during his own wedding, he was calculated and very and enjoyed with all of us. We didn't feel even once that he's not on point. But his nutrition, his calorie intake, his protein intake his body is his temple. And the way he treats it, and I wish more people can understand that you don't need to go to a temple to pray if you pray within every single day. And for you to be able to pray, your deity inside has to be clean.
Very well said. Very well said. All right, so just one more point that I wanted to talk about, and I think I was inspired by Chef Gill, who talks about culture and food. And so what role does your cultural heritage, your background play in your food choices?
I think a very big role. I believe my favorite food items have always been different Indian delicacies, whether it's a sweet dish or whether it's, the food that I prefer to eat on daily basis. It's always firstly homemade, and I'm from North India. So I don't think there's anything that I don't like, starting from khichdi to, the most fancy dal makhnis and this and that. But again, they need to be homemade because we can control what is being put there. And I have gajar ka halwa and everything mostly homemade. And it's all, I think, my favorite. So my entire food choice and anything that I prefer to have has always been influenced by my cultural preferences. So even I think today I have to, if I'm traveling outside the country, I can stay maximum 24 hours without Indian food. That is my limit. Then I will search some Indian restaurant, travel 55 minutes, 2 hours sometimes, just to go eat some dal roti, sometimes whatever is available. So, majorly.
So in Bosnia, where I'm from, traditionally our natural home cooked food, and again, my husband and I, we both cook and do lots of home cooking. It is based on lots of soups and stews. So that is always the base, which are made with bone broth, which is very nourishing and very healing and restorative, and also filling. After that, we have always a green on the table, which can be raw green or just stir fry with some protein. And that is how I was brought up. And that is something that we are doing at home with our daughter. And even if we are going to have, because my husband is an Indian, so she's half Indian as well, if we are going to have some dal afterwards, we are still going to have a soup prior as our little base. And I feel that that is extremely important for a functioning of the body, for the mind, again, gut health. Because again, what is the gut health? It is how the microbe and the flora of the intestine is communicating and absorbing the nutrients and making them bioavailable. And then in turn, if that area is functioning properly, then the vagus nerve, which is connecting the mind and the stomach, actually gets relaxed, and that is what puts us in a more optimal state of being, in a more relaxed state of being. That is why the gut health is such an important topic at the moment, because it does not just affect how body functions in the physicality of it, but also how how do we process emotions, how do we process the information and make it available for our use.
Yep, very well said. Nikhil?
I am hungry.
All right. Game over.